Hey there, I'm Jay Danley, and welcome to the third installment of my analysis of film noir scoring practices for the classic American era, 1940s to the 1950s. In this installment, the final installment, I'm going to take a look at two amazing films. The scores for Elia Kazan's On the Waterfront and Otto Preminger's The Man with the Golden Arm. On the Waterfront was scored by Leonard Bernstein, and Man with the Golden Arm was by Elmer Bernstein. So here we go. Okay. By the 1950s, Hollywood found itself having to adapt to quite a few serious challenges. Attendance was in great decline and the companies were losing money. The anti-communist blacklist had created scandal for Hollywood, which kept viewers away and cost many the ability to work. Television, then a new consumer product, was keeping people entertained at home. A 1948 legal finding prevented the Big Five of Hollywood movie production companies, that's 20th Century Fox, RKO Pictures, MGM, Paramount, and Warner Brothers, from owning theaters, as this was deemed to be in violation of antitrust laws. These newly emancipated theaters were then free to run non-Hollywood produced films, including foreign films, that were not under the scrutiny of the Motion Picture Production Code. That's the restrictive censorship agency that had actively presided over Hollywood film production since 1934. These uncensored films naturally proved quite popular. In 1954, the head of the Motion Picture Production Code, Joseph Breen, retired and was replaced by Jeffrey Sherlock. Sherlock understood that a significant market awaited more adult-themed pictures and that the studios could now be expected to cooperate with a production code that prevented them from better exploiting the adult demographic. Now, that was written by John Lewis for an article called Hollywood versus Hardcore, How the Struggle Over Censorship Created the Modern Film Industry. It's a really great read. New York University Press, 2000. So declining financial numbers brought on by the antitrust ruling, scandal, and the advent of television was a major factor in the relaxing of the motion picture production code. There was a general desire to give the viewing public something different and better than the shows and movies on television. Television was under a much stricter set of censorship rules and was quite limited, and the easing of restrictions on films was seen as a possible means to increase viewership. The easing of restrictions meant that films could deal with more adult-oriented material. Scoring for these films had to adjust to these changes. Composers for films noir would continue to push back the boundaries of conventional scoring wisdom. There was, as there always is, a backlash to these modern developments. When Miklos Rozsa presented his score for Billy Wilder's Double Indemnity in 1944, it was met with outright disdain by Paramount's head of music department, Louis Lipstone, who found the music too brutal and harsh, more suited to a Carnegie Hall performance than a film, he said. Leonard Bernstein's score for Elia Kazan's On the Waterfront from 1954 is a wonderful example of how film composers, particularly film noir composers, were eschewing traditional romantic scoring practices. For example, the general practice for a film score opening at the time is that it be upbeat, lushly orchestrated, and in a major key. Bernstein violates all of these rules. On the Waterfront's main theme begins with a slow, mournful cor anglais playing in F minor. Bar 5 contains what is often referred to as the blue note, that is a flattened fifth scale degree, a note most often associated with the popular music idioms of blues and jazz. This is also an example of dissonance, being that this tone is the tritone of the tonic note of F. At bar 7, the melody is then repeated by two flutes an octave apart and a solo trombone playing the melody exactly 2 beats behind the flutes, creating a type of a round, or a music cycle. The idea of a round will be used quite a bit, again, a little bit later. The second part of the excerpt transcription shows Bernstein's use of unusual instrument selection, another element that is indicative of the sound of noir. Bar 13, under the title Violence Theme, begins with a tuned drum and low piano playing a heavily syncopated, aggressive pattern that fluctuates every other bar between 4/4 and 3/4 time signatures. The notes played are G and B flat, delineating the key of G minor. At bar 17, a slightly different pattern is introduced for 2 bars, still alternating time signatures. At this point, I will note that the piano will continue to play in unison with the first tuned drum. At bar 19, a second tuned drum plays the original pattern, while drum 1 and piano continue with the new pattern. This is a type of round being played by two drums and piano. At bar 23, piano and drum 1 play another new pattern, while drum 2 plays the second pattern. At bar 25, a third tuned drum plays the first pattern, while the second drum plays the second pattern, and the first drum and piano play the third pattern. That makes it 3 different rhythmic patterns played simultaneously. The feeling is very cacophonous and aggressive. At bar 35, drums play in unison, the first pattern, while a solo alto sax plays B flat and A, and then C and G over the G minor key. At bar 41, the alto sax plays C to D flat, again giving us tension through dissonance. Then the alto sax alternates between D flat and E flat before falling off at bar 45 with an E flat, D flat, and F. At bar 47, paraphrasing the melody played by the alto sax by using the same rhythmic pattern but different tones, piccolo, flute, oboe, clarinet, E flat clarinet, and trumpet play the melody, which now consists of D, D flat, E natural, and B natural over the key of G minor. In this score excerpt, we see a defiance of scoring tradition by beginning a score in a minor key with a solo instrument, 2 uses of the compositional technique of the round, unusual instrument selection in the use of 3 tuned drums, and many examples of dissonance. To look at the use of popular music idioms in film noir, we will look at Elmer Bernstein's score for Otto Preminger's The Man with the Golden Arm from 1955. The score starts with a hi-hat being played in a common swing style, but double time. Trombone, baritone sax, and double bass play a pattern of C, E flat, C, E flat, and F in the key of F minor, the classic bo-da-bo-do-do. This is repeated 3 times when a trumpet plays a figure in the pentatonic F minor scale, consisting of F, A flat, B natural, and C. At bar 10, a clarinet plays a counterpart to the line played by the trumpet in the style of early jazz. At bar 11, the trumpet melody lands heavily on a B natural, giving us the tritone. The 4 trumpets play a line together at bar 12 that leads to the hi-hat being played double time for 1 bar. A rolling ostinato pattern played by 2 trombones, double bass, and drums begins at bar 15. Trumpets play a pattern at bar 16 of F, C, F, and B natural, tritone again, with heavily exaggerated vibrato. This continues until bar 20, when 2 more trumpets come in with the notes A flat and G, also with heavy vibrato. The last use of dissonance in this excerpt occurs at bar 26 with the trumpets hitting a B natural. These two score excerpts are examples of how film composers, particularly film noir composers, were breaking down the traditions of film scoring. As films were changing or being allowed to change or being forced to change, so too were the composers allowed to bring in modernism through the use of dissonance, contemporary composition techniques by way of the drum round, the use of popular music styles, in this case jazz, and the avoidance of film scoring cliches such as films having to open up with a major key, big lush orchestration. This was all gone. These people were truly breaking some new ground with these films. I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and thanks for watching as much as I've enjoyed making it. I'm going to send this out on social media. I'm going to put it up on my website. If you feel like commenting, please do. I'm really interested in talking to other composers and filmmakers. I'd love to get some discussions going. If you have any points to make, please let me know if I've missed anything. Hoping that we can get some discussions about music happening. There's nothing that I love more. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you soon.